was a big win for us at home. You know, it's key as you move forward in conference play. If you're going to contend for a championship, you know, you got to defend your home court. You got to hold serve at home, and our guys did that tonight. You know, a big focus of the scouting report. You know, I say it all the time to the guys. Stevie Wonder could see that. You know, Chris Clemens and Burke are two unbelievably explosive scorers. I mean, they had 75 points in their last game, and they were obviously a big point of emphasis in the scouting report. I thought our perimeter guys, you know, especially Bjorn, Anders, you know, Adam too, those guys guarded their butts off. Like I said, there's a really good offensive players. They probably missed shots that they typically make, but I thought our guys on the perimeter especially really buckled down, and not just them. I mean, it takes 5 guys, you know, to guard really good offensive players. You know, obviously Andrew and Udi look like, you know, Lou Alcindor today. I mean, he was killing down low, and you give that kid credit. But obviously Clemens not having his typical game was good for us because he's such an explosive scorer. So I was proud of our guys' effort. Thought we defended, rebounded for the most part, and that's the key, as I keep saying, to our season.
How pleased, impressed, whatever, were you with how you guys finished the game defensively? Because it seemed like your plan was really working in the first half, and then they started to kind of like backdoor you guys. But I mean, I'm not sure they scored in like the last 5 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because Kevin does a really good job of putting those guys in good positions that make you make tough decisions. You know, you're worried about them coming off the dribble handoffs for threes, and so your motor's running so hard that, you know, you get overzealous on that, and they beat you on a back door. Sometimes you tip your cap to them. What you can't allow to happen is for them to get a couple plays like that, and then it lessens your awareness on the other stuff. You know, that's what they do. I think the foundation of the Princeton stuff is the back cut. You know you're going to get back cut every once in a while. You hope your backline defense is going to be able to give you some help at the rim and things like that. But you know, in the 8-minute media, our seniors were talking, which was really good. I felt like the first 12 minutes of the second half, it wasn't who we'd been the last 5 weeks in terms of just the feel that I felt like we had, the mojo. I didn't feel like we were leaning forward on defense. They were really dictating to us, kind of what you're talking about. And we just said a mature team flips a switch. They can snap out of the media. And then, you know, I felt like for the most part, that last 6 or 7 minutes, we did a pretty good job of defending and getting stops.
And the last game was so physical and there were so many fouls. You know, I mean, how important was that for you guys to, you know, because Chris wasn't having a good game shooting, but he couldn't get to the free throw line and like get going there. You know, I think that's critical. Well,
you know, 2 ways that they do a great job of manufacturing points is the free throw line and the 3-point line. And in game 1, they shot 37 free throws. And playing hard without fouling was a big point of emphasis. And then obviously guarding their threes as well. Obviously trying to contain Chris Clemens was terrific. And I thought we did that for the most part. 37 free throws is a lot, you know, so we had to make them earn their baskets. We worked a lot on try not to foul, our verticality around the rim and things. And I thought we did a pretty good job of defending the 3-point line as well.
Yeah, and how happy were you with Zay? Because I thought from, you know, the first couple possessions, I think he went to the rim and he just seemed like he was taking the game over at the right spots.
Yeah, you know, that's what special players do. They want the ball in their hands at the end, and we're gonna put the ball in Xavier's hands, and that's what big time players do. They make big time plays. I thought that the little ISO where you got late in the game and drove and finished, those were game ending type plays. And you know, early on he was missing some chippies, and he didn't let it affect the rest of his game. I think early on in the season his shooting percentage wasn't what it typically is, but you know, now he's starting to make those shots and play with more and more confidence. And you know, I think his best basketball of the season and of his career is still ahead of him. But his whole thing and our team's whole thing is our preparation's been a good point. It's been on it. You know, Xavier, Anders, and then, you know, the Kellens, the Mitches, the Freddies, the Earps, those seniors have been very, very on it in terms of holding the other guys accountable to our practices and preparation. And I think as long as that continues, and I said it the other day, good things will continue to happen.
How big was Bjorn's effort? You mentioned him, but he had to stay on Chris most of the day, which is essentially a full-time job, and he still comes down and goes 7 of 11 from the floor, has 4 dimes, 4 rebounds.
Bjorn's a warrior. He's a warrior. The nicest kid you'll ever meet. You know, I mean, he's like one of those kids that I don't know if he has any flaws and faults. He's like Mr. Perfect, like nicest kid ever. But he will tear your face off when he's competing. Not in a unsportsmanlike way, but that dude is nasty. Just, I don't know if he'll ever get the credit he deserves in terms of being on the all-defensive team and things like that, because he doesn't pass the eye test. You know, he wears big, thick ankle braces, and he's got, you know, big, thick ankles, and he's got the, you know, the Leave It to Beaver haircut, but, like, he's nasty. He competes with every fiber of his being. And I just thought he gave great effort. Clemens missed a bunch of shots he's typically going to make. I'm not saying it was all our defensive effort by any stretch. But that kid played to exhaustion today. I thought Anders and AP, all of our perimeter guys, did as well.
You were trading the lead back and forth there right around, say, I guess about the 8-minute mark is where it started. And Josh had that physical rebound, the putback, the and one, and the bench exploded at that point, and then the defense started to clamp down. Was that play essentially one of those?
I think that was a big catalyst play. I think that was huge. I like that you mentioned that, because when we watch tape, we evaluate the bench. Like, we want to see great mojo, great culture from the bench as well. And guys get called out if a great play happens and you don't get off the bench in like 0.4 seconds. You don't need ice on your elbow from fist pumping. So our bench gives us energy, and yeah, that was a great play that sparked us. If you never watched Mitch Hill and Matt Earps on the bench, just record them and put it on YouTube. It'll probably get about 1 million hits. Those guys are so selfless. They pour into our team. They have such energy, and they play, you know, minimal minutes. That being said, a kid like Mitch Hill was called on today and came in and gave us big minutes. Shot like a 40-footer off one pass, which I'm not exactly going backflips about, but his name was called and he was ready. You know, you got to have a next man up mentality. Kyle Zunick, had appendicitis and had an emergency appendectomy early this morning, and that's another dude that's tough as nails too. Like, I told him, you go home, you go back to your dorm, you lay down, you rest. And I walk out on the floor and I turn around and the kid's sitting on the bench. He had an appendectomy about 4 or 5 hours ago. Like, he eats nails for breakfast too. And, but other guys stepped up, like Mitch when he was called on. That's why you have 15 players on your roster. They all have to be ready. A month ago, Adam was dead to rights. He wasn't in anything, but Adam was ready. And his name was called when other guys went down, and he's been playing well.